Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Monday, August 2nd, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free at whyagain.org. If you go to that page and click on the Start Here link in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of that book provides a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet, or a worksheet, and it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 17 years to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships and turn any negative emotional experience into part of the infallible guidance system that each of us have been gifted. You can also download the actual worksheet itself, a simple PDF file, click on it, download it, print it off, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one, where people have been stepped through that worksheet process, or given powerful testimonials about how the application of that tool in their lives has benefited them. And you can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness, and before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. And if you click on that, it'll let you download an app that has the Reality Management Worksheet, an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And we hope people do that soon and often, because that leads to questions and comments. And when you do that, you can give us a call at 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, it'll put a little question mark by your phone number, and I'll announce you by your area code. We're also doing the Course in Miracles workbook lessons this year, and this is the 214th day of the year. And so Lesson 214 continues the review, and we're reminded that I am not a body, I am free, for I am as the Creator created me. And Lesson 194, the review is, I place the future in the hands of God. The past is gone, the future is not yet. Now am I freed from both. For what the Creator gives can only be for good, and I accept what it gives as what belongs to me. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as the Creator created me. And here's our Lesson 214 from the Course in Miracles Experiment by Pam Grout. She titles Lesson 214, The More Than the Dude Living the Pam Story. More than the dude living the Pam story. She quotes Stephen Levine as saying, water is water, no matter what its shape or form. The solidity of ice imagines itself to be its edges and density. Melting, it remembers. Evaporating, it ascends. Pam writes, there's nothing empirically bad or evil about this character living the Pam story. It's just that it's completely inadequate to address the big questions of love and infinity and wholeness. The Pam story is a diversionary tactic. It shields me from true nature, concocting a cozy image of myself as an autonomous individual separate from the whole. Again, nothing wrong with this mental construct, except it incites a ton of fear. It knows good and well although loath to admit it, that it's self-constructed and fragile, and it has no real substance, no permanence, and no vitality. In today's review, I liberate the dude living the Pam story. I give it freedom to follow the miracle of love, to give up judgment, accept each blessing, and return to the field of the divine union. I celebrate the life that never ends. It simply changes form and evolves into ever newer shapes and beauty. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as the Creator created me, and I place the future in the hands of God. So, that's our Course in Miracles lesson and commentary for today, and we have 50 minutes to talk, to answer comments, questions, discuss questions. 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, we can have a conversation. What's on your mind today? Welcome, Susan.
Hi, Dr. Tim. How are you today?
I'm well, and you?
Okay, thanks. I read something last night and also listened in the middle of the night to your, I forget the title, CPR. What was it?
Emotional CPR?
Oh, yeah, emotional CPR. You know, I was fascinated with what she had been through and curious about the fact that she was diagnosed with schizophrenia because she didn't seem at all schizophrenic. I've dealt with
I have an answer
people.
for that. I have an answer
Okay.
to that for you.
Okay.
Through my lifetime, I have watched the fad diagnoses come and go.
I see.
And during that period of time, chronic schizophrenia was the fad diagnosis.
I see. Well, that makes sense.
And so if you had any kind of a break with reality, if anybody judged you as not perceiving accurately, if you had a spiritual awakening, a vision, if you had a vivid dream and you felt like some of it was real that might portend something in the future, if you talked to the right or the wrong people, depending upon how you look at it, you were quite likely to become diagnosed as chronic schizophrenic. And part of that was driven by the fact that they had these, quote, new, close quotes, anti-schizophrenic drugs. And it was a big, big machine, just like for years it was, and still is to some degree, a big machine about attention deficit disorder with hyperactivity and all of the stimulants. In between, there was a tremendous flood of people who got diagnosed as bipolar, manic depression. Before that, a lot of people got diagnosed as depressed. And so that's what happened back then.
I see.
During the time, she said Nixon was president. She needed to go talk to Nixon.
That's right.
During that period of time, hopefully it was right in the middle of it, and it ended not too long after that. If you had any kind of a symptom that somebody wanted to label as psychotic, they labeled you chronic schizophrenic. And don't worry, it's okay because we have meds for that.
All right. Well, it was a very sad story, that period in her life. She had what sounded like a divine, an experience of the divine, but it was quickly ripped from her by experts who said she was nuts. And how long was it that she was in a mental institution? A year or something?
About a year. Yeah, that was pretty typical back then. You could be in there for 3, 6 months, 12 months, and the insurance would pay for it back then.
Wow. Well, she did refer us to her website, but I had wished she had actually talked about, or maybe I dozed off. This was in the middle of the night, one of my insomnia episodes. Did she ever say what the CPR was?
Yes, emotional CPR is something that she and a fellow creator kind of came to at the same time. And it is a training that they do. And the C stands for connecting, deep listening.
Uh-huh.
The P stands for empowering. And the R stands for revitalizing. And so they do a 14-hour training. She likes to do it in 14 hours. And there's a Zoom, format of it available these days, where they train people to be able to do emotional CPR. This is peer support. This is grassroots help for people who can benefit from emotional support through a crisis.
This sounds like Walzak's peer support in his retreat centers that he runs. My son looked into the one in...
Yeah, probably very similar.
Yeah, he looked into the one in Costa Rica and decided at the very last minute not to go. But he was both encouraged and discouraged by the fact that Walzak himself might not be there, probably wouldn't be, and that it would be other people who have been through whatever the experience is, the healing and training and so forth. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but it does sound similar. I'll have to look at her website. It was very interesting. One thing I also listened to was a different way of handling stress or the aftermath of stress. And the woman gave the example of way back. You might be wandering around in the forest and attacked by a bobcat. So you're running hard to get away from the bobcat. You're releasing a tremendous amount of energy, and you are given a tremendous amount of energy to deal with that. But the running provides a release from the cortisol that's spewed into your system. And she said nowadays we'll have a very stressful something happen, but we don't run. We don't do jumping jacks. We just absorb it, and it's in our bodies. And that is one of the reasons we experience ongoing anxiety, because we don't take the pains to release it. It's well known, for instance, she was saying that exercise helps with depression and anxiety. But she was saying immediately after a stressful episode, if you, for instance, just tense up every single muscle in your body and then release, and do that however many times, 1, 2, 3 times, you'll feel much reduced level of anxiety. And she also said, go outside and do jumping jacks or something. And I thought, what an amazing thing. We've made the connection between stress and relief from stress being exercise, but I've never heard it expressed in such an immediate way, as if you can immediately give yourself an exercise pill. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to. The next time some anxiety comes up, I might just try it. Have you ever done that? You ride a bike, you probably do it instinctively.
Yeah, and it sounds a lot like, I don't know what you were specifically listening to, but it sounds like integrating some of the knowledge from Peter Levine's work and some of the somatic psychotherapy, that there's this realization that the mind and the body are not separate. And when we have these, fight, flight, freeze responses, they evolved to be adaptive. And when people, Peter Levine talks about how when people have a trauma and they start shaking, rather than letting them shake and vibrate and spill off some of the energy, the first responders try to wrap them up and calm them down and tell them don't shake, and or give them a pill so that they calm down right away, rather than letting them just shake and vibrate and get the energy out. And
right.
And if you can have some of the awareness of that process and let it continue, you can spill off a lot of the effects of trauma right there in the moment, rather than locking it down in your energy system to be, triggered many, many times in the future.
Wow, that is so interesting. And it's so interesting, too. I had a bike accident the other day and landed on my back with my bike on top of me. And I lay there for a moment to take stock of what might be broken or damaged in some way. And after a while, I got up and found that I was quite fine. About 4 days later, I began having pain in my left hip and leg. And I thought, well, this is probably, I don't know why it manifested so far afterwards, but I finally went and got an x-ray. And the doctor said, your bones are great. You don't have arthritis. You'll never need a hip operation. Boy, would that be nice, knock on wood. But he said, you have damaged soft tissue around there, and it's just going to take a while. Here, take this. It's an NSAID. I don't know what that means, but it's an anti-inflammatory.
It means non-steroidal anti-inflammatory.
Right. Well, he said it will take the inflammation out. It'll give you relief, and it'll be good for you. And so I did for a couple of days, and then I decided I better check it out. My question to the internet was, does taking these anti-inflammatories slow the healing process? Bingo. It says, yes, it does. It does. It slows it down. And I thought, that's just like giving aspirin for a fever. We should allow the fever to be a fever. And this is the same sort of thing on a more obviously physical level, but we keep trying to shut down the symptoms, thinking that's the same thing as healing, and it turns out it isn't. So anyway, just really interesting.
So how's your body feeling today? Recovering?
I'm not sure. I've been teaching my Pilates class, holding onto a chair and limiting and, just yelling at my students and telling them what to do rather than doing it all. I went for a walk yesterday, my usual 2 miles in the morning, and I usually go 2 or 3 or 4 miles in the evening too. But after the 2 miles in the morning, I realized I'd overdone it. It was limping around again. So today I'm taking it easy. It's just uncomfortable. It's not miserable, but I'm so used to moving around that it's not easy. It's not easy for me to slow down and not do those things. But it'll probably be, he said, give it a month. Call me in a month if you need to call, but that's about how long it'll take to heal up and be normal again. I'm sure you've had bike scenes too. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, and it might take a month or it might take a day or two or a week or two.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
but
good to know.
If you prime yourself to believe it's going to be months before you're recovered, then it probably will be.
Good thought, Dr. Tim. That really helps. Another thing that helps, this is a team.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was changing the subject, so if you want to add something, go ahead.
It's just the idea of, we don't really realize how much we program ourselves to feel what we feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if somebody tells you, oh, it's going to be months. Now, if I'm doing all the right stuff and somebody, I've broken a bone and it needs to heal, I will, hold that it's going to heal faster than the doctor tells me, and I will be very cautious with, my rehab.
Yeah.
But I'll hold the idea that, I might be one of those people who heals 2 to 3 times faster than normal. So if it's feeling better, I will increase my activity slowly and and stay in touch with the body, stay aware of the energy system, and open the space for it to heal more quickly.
I like it. I'll do that. That's, you say things on the radio show, and you say things over and over, some things, because you never know when the brain cells are going to line up so that even though we understand it, we haven't gotten it on another level. And the other day you said a couple of things. One thing you said was, there are many more good things that are happening in the world than bad things, even though the
in
bad
every
things
moment.
are sort of in every
That's right.
moment.
Every moment.
So that has been extremely helpful. And then the other thing, you suggested that I become my 8-year-old self, or talk to her, or forgive her decision to see life as sad. And I'm not sure how the words, it means doing a worksheet or something. I've just been telling her, I've been pretending I'm her looking in the mirror and deciding to look in the mirror, wipe my eyes, smile and say, well, that might have been awful, but life is great. And it's an adventure, and I'm glad to be alive. And I've been practicing that, and it has had a real effect. But at the same time, it seems as if now that the good effects are happening, maybe it's what Michael says, where you go down another layer, there's a whole new layer of challenge. And not directly connected to that, but certainly I know it's in the same ballpark. And so I was going to ask you if I could talk sort of quickly through a worksheet if nobody else's hand is up.
Okay, what do you got?
Well, I had, I play the piano and do some singing for church, and it's very limited because only soprano, alto, tenor, bass, one on a part, are allowed into the church to sing, and we have to sing in masks. And often when I'm not singing, I'm accompanying the singers on the piano. One of the great things that's been happening is our organist and choir master, he's very old, and even though I write music and a tenor singer in my choir is also a composer, our organist hasn't welcomed doing new works, our works. He's always chosen things that are familiar, and it's understandable. He's 89 years old. It's just probably hard for him to learn new stuff. And I don't think he likes modern music. He's very traditional Anglican repertory. So this fellow tenor and I have been submitting pieces to the music committee and saying this would fit into the liturgical year on this particular day, and how would you feel about if we crank it up? And we've gotten a lot of new things done this year because of that. Well, one came up too fast. It was only a week ago that I realized I had a psalm setting, Psalm 51, that I really liked but hadn't polished and hadn't learned, and the piano part is challenging. And I said to the soprano, it's for soprano and piano, would you like to do it? She said, sure. Well, we both struggled all week, presented it on Sunday, and it was far from ideal, let's put it that way. It was a disappointment, and I've been sort of crawling around on my face, just feeling badly about the fact that this wonderful opportunity just came up too fast, and instead of being careful about it and saying, no, I can't be ready, I practiced madly for the week and still was very nervous because it was too hard to pull off under pressured circumstances. She made mistakes, I made mistakes. We got through it because you do that. But this woman, and here's where the worksheet comes in, this woman is a professor at a nearby college, very dignified, a wonderful singer, and very self-contained in a way that I've never been. And I admire her for that, but I find myself tempted to bend over backwards to be friendly, complimentary, basically to manipulate her into liking me. And I have no clue whether she likes me or not. And I don't even know why it's important, except that she is a challenge. She's like, why do I need her to like me? It's none of my business, that sort of thing. But I had to do a worksheet on it. After we did this, I slid down the pew and said, well, that was tough. And she said, oh, no, these things happen, very coolly. And I slid back and thought, oh, my God. Oh, I blew it again. It's almost like courting someone and saying the wrong thing. It's really crazy. So I will call her Patricia. That isn't her name. But she's a trigger. And the goal is I want her to like me and like my music and do more than at least tolerate me. That's sort of a long goal. So,
well, I would just leave it as like me and like my music.
Okay.
Because when you put the other part in, now you're talking about what you don't want her to do. You don't want her to just tolerate you.
Okay, that's true. Okay, that's good. The third thing, I'm doing this 5-step short wake-up sheet with the pattern in between. So the third one is, I ask that my true being love be restored to my awareness. I'm willing to have my reality and its effects change. I want to be shown the truth. Truth with a capital T. Well, I have to really think about what the truth is here.
No.
I don't.
No,
I don't.
No, you do not think about what the truth is. When you think, you will get what your ego is loaded up with.
Okay.
This is just asking to be shown.
All right.
This is not thinking. That's trying to figure it out.
Okay. Good. Okay. So the pattern begins. I cancel my need to be right. Well, I need to prove that she doesn't like me. She's cool. I'm too old and too stupid for her to really have on her radar. I make up all these things, and I think I'm right. So I have to cancel all that. Second one, cancel my need for any.
And if you have a negative thought about yourself or somebody else, you have to cancel it because you know it's a false thought.
Well, okay. I guess I don't really know it's a false thought. I know you said whenever.
We do know.
Yeah. Oh.
Intellectually, we know. We don't feel it at an emotional level.
Okay.
That's why we have to keep doing the worksheets, because we're holding on to beliefs that we're less than love and that we're damaged and broken and unlovable and all that stuff. But at an intellectual level, we know that's not the way it works.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to release the attachment in the moment to believing all these negative thoughts and holding on to or operating from these negative beliefs. That's where I'm going to cancel my need to be right. My need to be right extends to my need to believe or hold on to my belief that I'm not lovable, that I'm bad or I'm broken or I'm too old.
Mm-hmm.
Or that my chin hairs invalidate me, or whatever, right? My canceling my need to be right extends into releasing any energy that I pour into any negative belief about myself.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So we just packed up my conscious logical mind and put it on the shelf with all that you just said. Okay. Cancel the specific goal for this worksheet, that she like me and like my music. Ask to be shown the hidden part of my mind that's creating the negative emotions presented in this worksheet. Take a few moments. Now, this is the part that got really sticky. Now I place myself in that open, allowing state to watch whatever images come up. How old am I? Well, I'm immediately 12 or 13, which seems rather late. You know, Walzak and everybody else says by the time
you're thinking about it, and you're going to muck it up with your thinking.
Okay. So it's okay.
You said immediately it comes up. Go there. Trust the process.
Yeah. Okay. I'm standing in front of my closet. It's a school day morning, picking out something to wear. And it's as if someone dumped a bucket of shame over my head. It was a physical sensation, almost as if I coiled up and just wanted to disappear with shame. But it was so non-specific. I wasn't thinking about any person or any event. It was just like a new state of misery, of being misery. Why that should connect with this woman. Oh my God, I just had another insight. Oh my God, I know why it is. Oh, wow. Okay, Dr. Tim, just telling you. Okay, this gets very personal again. We've been through this area. Okay. This woman is married to a woman. They're both professors at this college. I have always admired them tremendously because they have this just sense of being, they're not flaunting anything. They're just who they are. Oh, geez. And when I was, geez, Dr. Tim,
kind of like the opposite of you, right?
You lost me. What? Oh, you mean not?
You wish you could do that.
Yeah.
You wish you could be happier with who you are and just be who you are.
Right. And they do it with such grace.
Seemingly.
Oh, yeah. Maybe
they
so.
seemingly do it with such grace.
Right. Oh. Well, I have two questions. I can see the connection with them now, but I certainly don't directly understand why this shame was coming over me when I was 12 or 13.
You don't need to. Just trust this process. You did it. You had a flash, and you can journal about it later. You can do other worksheets on it later. You can do exercises where you visit that 12-year-old self who was in such shame and ask her what she needs from you to feel better right now. You can do the Diedrich Wolzak exercise with her of saying, I forgive myself for believing there's anything shameful about me. I forgive myself for forgetting the truth that my value is internal and unchanging. You could do that. And you can just make notes about all of these images and emotions from 12 or 13, and the associations you just had related to these women, and what it is that you value so much about them, or that you wish you could be like, and leave it open as you live your life, and more realizations are then free to come to you. You don't have to get it all and sort it all out with your conscious logical mind in the moment of doing every worksheet. As a matter of fact, that's not really practical. That's slipping back into the pattern of wanting to figure it out. That's why in the pattern it says, trust the process. No matter how disjointed, no matter how irrelevant it might seem, just do the process and trust it. Trust that anything that shows up, pops into your mind, is going to be part of what you need to see to begin to heal here and move forward. Whether it's a thought or a feeling, emotion-wise, a physical sensation, a negative belief, a memory of trauma, whatever it is, just trust it. And write it down and make good notes about it and breathe and soften and allow that it is all going to be of use.
Okay. So, in a way, I think I railroaded through this worksheet a little too fast, because I think I need to stop right here and just stay in this part of the pattern for a while.
Yeah, and let yourself make notes about, okay, what is it about these women as a couple that might be resonating me thinking about myself as a 12 or 13-year-old. And you might run into stuff that you don't really need or have any desire to share on the radio show, but you can still get the benefits of the work by staying with it.
Wow, this is like a hydra. This is just blowing up all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And whenever it wants to do that, I find it very beneficial to let it do that. It isn't, every worksheet that blows up like a hydra having, all kinds of tendrils that I can follow, but when they do, I welcome them.
Yeah. Wow, there was even something that happened yesterday with two of my grandboys that's part of the hydra. Wow. Okay. I'm just putting down a note or two.
Yeah, the benefit of that forgiveness pattern and turning it into a meditation rather than just racing through the worksheet is that it helps me put myself in the space of being willing to see whatever bubbles up, and then trusting that even if my conscious logical mind can't make the connections right now, it is of value, and it will continue to be of value if I stay open and allow.
Yeah.
So, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. This is really very helpful. I'm going to have to spend some time on it, though.
So maybe we should let you go and have you just spend some time with it.
Okay.
Since it is the hydra effect bubbling up, and you tell me, would it be more beneficial to you to stay on the call and ask more questions, or to get yourself in the mode where you're just relating to it and letting the hydra evolve and making notes and processing?
It'd probably be better to leave this, but I do have a whole other question.
Okay,
Believe
what's
me,
the other
I'm just
question?
going to stay. I'm not going to lose this. I found you were Catholic. You know what a novena is, right?
I do know the word.
It's a 9-day, it's a commitment to pray for 9 days to a saint within the Catholic tradition. I'm not Roman Catholic, but I was enthralled with Roman Catholicism around age 12, so maybe this is part of the hydra now that I mention it. But Catholics often pray to St. Jude. He's the patron saint of the hopeless. And usually when someone feels as if they're stuck or a problem won't go away, they feel as if they need to pray to him. So I was cleaning out some books, and I found between a couple of books a novena prayer that I did for Tim Bingham years ago. And I was praying for his relief and release from depression, anxiety, and OCD. Now, I don't even remember that I knew what that was back then, or that Tim had OCD in any form, which, I mean, we're talking diagnoses again, but if it's compulsive, and his was very gentle compared to my grandson Charlie's, but he did have certain rituals and things he needed to do in order to reassure himself, or certain fears. And I guess I figured they were OCD back then in some way. In any case, I found this novena, and I'm seeing it with very different eyes now. Reading it, it's like prepping a climate of mind. It's like taking a position and reestablishing it every day for 9 days with this quite long combination of the Lord's Prayer, some Hail Marys, or maybe a full rosary, 2 prayers to St. Jude. So I decided to start a novena for my son this morning for anxiety, depression, and OCD. It seems so, because I decided this before I even read I didn't. I read it and then decided that Jonathan needed help on the same things. That was the sequence. Anyway, we talk about changing neural pathways in the brain, and it seems as if that's what this attempts to do. Of course, we're also, depending on where you are on the devotional spectrum and the style of devotions you do, you're either talking to yourself with a capital S, or you're talking to a chosen ideal like Jesus or Ramakrishna, Krishna, Holy Mother, Muhammad, whoever. But it's a way, I'm seeing it now both as a petition to Jesus, and the old-fashioned stuff is still sitting in there, but also a way of changing neural pathways in my own brain just by saying these words the same every day for 9 days consistently. And I just wondered if you had any experience with that. You said you know the words, so maybe you never did one of those. But it doesn't matter. I mean, we do worksheets are like novenas.
Yeah, it's like I haven't said this in a while, but I talk about how when I encourage people to do the worksheet, especially in the support groups, we encourage people to read every word every time, because it's basically part of the deconditioning and retraining my brain into how things really work. We're trained in the culture to believe you made me angry, you hurt my feeling, that's sad, that's scary, that's tragic. But the fact of the matter is all events are neutral. The fact of the matter is when I have a negative thought or emotion, it means that part of my brain is using corrupt data. So if I read that over and over again, I'm programming myself to understand and observe more directly how my system actually works. So that's like what you're talking about here, building new brain cells, unraveling unproductive old conditioning. It's also like a lot of the great traditions, Way of Mastery and Course in Miracles, they tell us, you know what, trust this process. When you ask for help, you receive it. Way of Mastery talks about it very specifically and says, it's kind of funny because human beings will ask to be shown, and then they'll get an urge to do something, and then they'll say, no, stop, I can't go, act on this urge because I'm praying and I need some sign from God. Well, the urge to go do something might very well be the answer that we asked for. It might be the inner guidance. And we fight it, we resist it, and we say, well, no, that can't be it. That's too simple, or that's self-indulgent, or whatever. And the fact of the matter is, many times when we ask, the answer shows up and we reject it.
Yeah. That's that story about the guy who was on the tip of his roof during a flood.
Oh,
when
yeah.
the boat came along. Yeah.
Yep.
And the helicopter came along.
First the truck came, and then the boat came, and then the helicopter came, and then he drowned. And when he got to heaven, he said, "Hey, God, what's the matter?" And God said, "Come on, I sent a truck, a boat, a helicopter. What do you want?"
Right. I love that story.
But the essence of it is, if the help doesn't show up in the way our minds thinks it should, then we reject and we say, "Oh, there's no help." But these great spiritual traditions are trying to tell us it's not a platitude when we're told, "Ask and you shall receive."
Right.
We're not, we don't really understand it because we think that what we ask for quite specifically is what should be coming our way. But the truth of it is, exactly what we need comes our way. And if it's not what we wanted or what we're looking for, we reject it. And then we just, we slumber in our suffering. But that's okay too, right? It's all just part of the game, part of the process of life. We could, however, choose this acting from the rooted center of our being, having the faith, to get centered within ourselves and then take an action, get centered in our true nature as the extension of this creative energy and form, and then take an action. And what will happen is we will start to see the benefits when we're not fighting against it, when we're not arguing against the answers that we are given, that we are shown.
Well, that seems to tie into either today's lesson or yesterday's. I can't remember which, probably both. I am free from the past and the future. Place the future in God's hands. Oh.
Yeah, if we think the world has to show up the way our conscious logical mind wants it to in order for us to be happy, we're in bad shape. Because our conscious logical mind can barely get us, simply dressed and to work on time. So to orchestrate the whole flow of the creative life force and the billions of people on the planet and all these other forces, and to see how everything is going to fit together, our conscious logical minds cannot do that. So to ask that the world unfold the way my conscious logical mind wants it to is worse than unweaning arrogance. It's a prison for me. It's a prison that keeps me unhappy and rejects the happiness, the joy, the contentment, the connection that can happen when I get in the flow of life. When I allow life to flow and I assume it's all happening for me rather than to me. And the fact that I can't see how yet doesn't mean that it isn't happening for me. That's why we have people like, the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery talk about it. Matt Kahn wrote a book, Everything is Happening for You. Everything is here for you. Whatever arises, love that. These great spiritual teachings all say the same thing. But what they're rooted in is the recognition that my conscious logical mind can barely help me navigate through the world on a regular basis. It has no capacity to comprehend existence, the universe, the flow of life. The best it can hope for is to ask and learn. The best my conscious logical mind can hope for is to be a very faithful servant, not the master.
Mm.
The best my conscious logical mind can hope for is to learn the benefits of living in the question without demanding answers. And of course, my conscious logical mind, as we had several times in the worksheet you were presenting, your conscious logical mind wanted to step in and say, okay, but now what does this mean? And how does that connect to that? And that's going to muck up the flow. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to pull you out of the allowing phase where insight and intuition can flood in, and it's going to try to claim control of that which it has no control over and no ability to comprehend, much less create and direct.
Yeah, that patter stuff, it's like a setting of the stage. The first 4 things or something, or 5 things in the patter are just clearing out the conscious logical mind so that, yeah, it's the 6th thing down, I guess, that says, now I place myself in that open, allowing state. It takes 5 steps for him to dismantle the conscious logical mind. Unplug it.
Yeah, it isn't so much dismantling it as just putting it in its proper position as observer. Right? So we don't want the conscious logical mind to feel threatened that it's being usurped. It's going to be, as it was always intended to be, a very faithful servant.
Mm. Thanks, Dr. Tim.
Well, you're quite welcome and deserving. Thank you for the call. Is there more I can support you with today?
No, but this Hydra is really, I've been taking notes. There are at least 3 more worksheets lined up now from this initial one. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and I've had the thought that there is no way that I'll ever be confident, centered and confident around this woman. And that's just my mind. And I should just forget about that.
Well, yeah, just like your mind is convinced that she and her partner are effortlessly, easily just being themselves and in the flow in each moment. And that's a fantasy you have. It's not the actuality of life. And while the truth of it might be that they might be, several steps further along the process in that particular arena than you are, it's not likely that the fantasy you have about them is accurate.
Mm.
I mean, you might have had fantasies like that about people like Mother Teresa until you read, her own writings.
Right. That last book.
And find out how she was full of doubt and fear and, on the verge of collapse many times and doubting her own faith and doubting her own abilities.
Right.
So it's easy for us. As a matter of fact, we are taught to idolize people in this culture, whether it's our movie and television stars, or it's our sports figures, or it's our politicians. We're taught from a very early age to engage in that process of fantasy and treat our fantasies as though they were the actuality of life, and they're not.
Mm.
It's one of the best things about, you were talking about the interview with Lauren Spiro, and it's one of the things that she's very much into is peer support networks and people who have had lived experience of the mental health system and being forced into confinement and taking medications they didn't want to take, etc. And the more you dig and find out about this, the more you realize some very bright, very well accomplished, very high functioning people have been through the same stuff. They've had emotional, spiritual emergencies or emotional crises, and they've been in hospitals or they've been given medications. And so, at every level we want to try and take people out of the frame of that idealized picture we have of them, take them down off the pedestal and recognize that it's an absolute fantasy when we place people in that idealized position. Every time. Because there has only, always, and forever been just human beings on the planet. And as I like to say, the only significant difference between any person who's alive now and any person who ever has lived or will live is the degree to which that person is able to live from the realization that we are all the same. The only difference between people is the degree to which they're able to understand and live in the realization that we are all the same. So, we've done it. You've stuck with us to expire the hour, so thank you very much for that and your questions, and I look forward to hearing how the work process is
Thanks, Tim.
as you see fit to share.
Thanks very much. This is really helpful. Thank you so much.
Well, you're entirely welcome and deserving. Thank you, and I will remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Rice.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome to August.
Yeah, have a great show.
Thanks.